We're back in Somerset County, Pennsylvania. The days leading up to the 10th anniversary of 9/11 tended to be rainy in the east, but we wanted to come here to the Flight 93 National Memorial near Shanksville. This will be the visitors' entrance when the memorial opens to the public for the first time on Saturday. Flight 93 was the last of the planes to be hijacked. It left Newark Liberty Airport about 25 minutes late, and that delay allowed the passengers to find out what had happened at the World Trade Center and the Pentagon. The memorial borders the field where the plane came down. The Boeing 757 had been headed to Washington, aimed at the Capitol or perhaps the White House. But the last attack of 9/11 ended here when the passengers won the first victory in the war on terror. Mark Strassman has their story.
This is the moment after United Flight 93 exploded in the field. Of all the jets hijacked that day, we know the most about Flight 93 because the FBI found both its flight data recorder and its cockpit voice recorder intact, as deep as 25 feet underground. It was the only usable cockpit recording recovered from 9/11. The details of what happened are contained in the official report of the 9/11 Commission. About 30 minutes after Flight 93's late departure, United Airlines sent a text to the pilots, warning them of the other hijackings. Apparently in disbelief, the pilots asked for confirmation. Moments later, the cockpit voice recorder picked up sounds of a struggle. "Mayday, mayday, mayday," one of the pilots radioed air traffic controllers. Someone yelled, "Get out of here." A woman, likely one of the flight attendants, is heard to say, "I don't want to die." The hijackers stabbed the crew with box cutters. Flight 93 turned for Washington, D.C. The terrorist pilot, Ziad Jarrah, tried to speak to the passengers on the intercom, but instead he hit the wrong switch and broadcast this message over the radio.
Hi, this is the captain. I would like to remain seated. We're overboard and are going to back to the airport and have our demand to remain quiet.
But some of them, including Tom Burnett, already knew what was really happening.
He told me what was going on.
Dina Burnett talked to her husband 3 times. She told him about the World Trade Center and the Pentagon, and he told her this.
He said, "Don't worry, we're going to do something." And he hung up.
The voice recorder picked up the sound of the passengers outside the cockpit door. One yelled, "In the cockpit, if we don't, we'll die." Then there's the sound of a flight attendant's service cart being rammed into the door again and again. The flight data recorder shows Jarrah, the pilot, rocked the 757 wildly side to side in an apparent effort to knock the passengers off their feet.
What they did in 30 minutes is amazing.
Ken Nackey's brother Lou was among the passengers.
They were able to gain information, formulate a plan, voted on a plan, and acted that plan, put it in motion, and prevented a greater tragedy all in 30 minutes. How amazing is that?
As the passengers charged the cockpit, one of the hijackers is heard to ask in Arabic, "Is that it? I mean, shall we put it down?" The other replies, "Yes, put it in it and pull it down." Flight 93 rolled onto its back and crashed into the countryside at 580 miles an hour. It was 20 minutes from Washington, D.C. Mark Strassman, CBS News, Atlanta.
And as we approach the 20th anniversary of the deadliest terror attack on U.S. soil, we wanted to share a story with you that few people have ever heard about 2 fighter pilots who took off on 9/11 to protect the nation's capital, knowing it might be their last mission.
It was a normal Tuesday morning.
Lieutenant General Mark Sassville and Heather Penny flew F-16s for the Air National Guard. On September 11, 2001, they watched 2 planes hit the World Trade Center.
We knew immediately, as soon as we saw the images, that we needed to protect and defend.
Protect and defend the nation's capital, as commercial airliners had become weapons of war. What did you understand about the rules of engagement, Heather?
We understood what the threat was. We were looking for a rogue airliner flying low that was not communicating with air traffic control.
The pilots had no time to spare. The country was under attack. They knew of at least one plane still in the sky, flying low. It was United Flight 93.
You got United 93?
They didn't even have time to load missiles. So you two were flying F-16s that weren't armed with missiles. So how were you going to take down Flight 93?
We were going to have to hit the airplane and disable it somehow.
A kamikaze mission.
Our only choice was going to be to ram the airliner. Sir, I remember you would take the cockpit to aim at the terrorists. And I would take the tail.
That's not something you survive.
No. As the military, we don't send our service members on suicide missions. But it was clear what needed to be done that morning.
It was not an order through the chain of command. It was your call to ram the plane.
We didn't have any other choice. And we weren't going to be caught on the ground watching America get hit again.
What they didn't know was that the passengers and crew of Flight 93 fought back and drove the plane into a field in Shanksville. 20 years later, how often do you think about that day, 9/11?
I think about it every day. Those on Flight 93 that paid the ultimate price, those are the real heroes.
Sass and I owe our lives to them. That's also why, when I think of 9/11, instead of being overcome by the trauma and the horror and the tragedy, I'm actually overcome by hope. That the best of who we are was demonstrated on that day. So in some ways, living my life as normally as possible is the biggest way that we can say that the terrorists did not win. It's such an incredible story, isn't it? I mean, I just think about the courage of so many heroes that day. And this programming note, I'll be anchoring from New York City for CBS News' live coverage marking the 20th anniversary of the 9/11 attacks. Our special report will begin at 8:30 Eastern Time on Saturday morning. Hope you'll join us.
Cece was a flight attendant.
The best way to never forget a story,
You know, their names here, but they're people.
is to keep telling it.
They were people that day, and because of these people, this plane went down here instead of making the Capitol. We've got to tell the story for those 40 because they can't, so.
As Brad Schober reflects at the Flight 93 Memorial,
The crater obviously was where the boulder is.
we get to see the day through his eyes.
Is that day still so vivid in your mind?
A lot of it is.
Through the eyes of a first responder.
A lot of people were confused. A plane crashed. How can it just be this huge hole in the ground?
Right. It's going in at such force that it buried itself. But, you know, I'm looking at this round crater realizing, okay, here's where the plane hit. And you can see the indentations on the side where the wings were. But I didn't know there was plane under there.
A call comes in on September 11th, 2001.
You know, this is one call that
A plane is down.
will forever have changed us and you know, who our department is.
The Shanksville Volunteer Fire Department is the first fire department on scene.
I think it's fresh in our minds, but I do think people are losing focus of it.
In a normally barren field, crews are met with total destruction.
You didn't know what was going on. You didn't know if they were just flying planes into the ground everywhere or what. It was just the chaos that was throughout the whole nation. It was.
The plane crash that has gone down in Somerset County is believed to be related to the other attacks on America.
The damage is something unforgettable.
We know what happened. You know, we was here every day and lived it.
A plane into pieces and a crater smoldering.
It's always in our minds.
They would soon learn
It was over when it hit the ground for the most part.
there were no survivors.
But everything that we do since then needs to be about those 40.
Never anticipate something of this size and magnitude, let alone on a national scale, if not international.
This field becomes the focus of one of the longest held crime scenes in Pennsylvania's history.
It's here in our backyard and we lived it.
And this small community comes together for the heroes who inspired our nation.
One of the things that a lot of the family members have said is they're very grateful for how the town reacted and how the town took care of them, and this, you know, this is their loved one's last resting place, and they're happy it's here. There's a lot of family that we've got to know.
2 decades later,
Leroy Homer, his family comes in every year.
those who responded that day continue telling their story for the 40 brave men and women who acted selflessly.
It's these people that we owe. Nobody owes us anything. We didn't do anything. It's these people.
As the sun gets ready to set at the Flight 93 Memorial,
You know, they were brothers, sisters, husbands, children.
Brad remembers the heroes of that day.
You just wonder what was going through their mind.
Yeah.
So we never forget their story.
You know, and not a one of them says they're from Shanksville, Pennsylvania. But this is where they rest.
United 93, you're here, Cleveland Center.
United 93 is one of 4,500 planes in the sky above America. It's under the control of Al-Qaeda terrorist Ziad Jarrah, and just 34 minutes from its target, the Capitol. A top-secret recording from United 93's cockpit reveals what happens in its final moments. Few people have ever heard the tape.
You could hear the sound of the wind passing over the wings. So there was a lot of background noise, but even so, it was fascinating.
You could hear the scuffling. You could hear people moving quickly. The sense was that there were several people working together. You could hear a hijacker being hit with some type of object, and you could hear the pain that he felt when he was hit. And it was a cry and a wail as if he had been fatally struck.
All of a sudden, Saeed, one of the hijackers in the front, yells, "Fight!" And his buddy said, "Yeah."
They were realizing that the passengers and crew members were coming to get them.
We started to see change in the aircraft's flight. The airplane started making some pretty extreme maneuvers. Turned to the north, it turned to the south. It did like a 270-degree turn. I didn't know what was going on there.
Cleveland enlists the help of a nearby light aircraft.
We're 56865 Cleveland Center. We have Boeing 757. Can you see him up there, sir?
We've got him.
What altitude does it appear to be he's at?
He's probably 8,000 feet. He's behind us and only about 1,000 feet above us.
I advise you stay away from that aircraft. Go north as fast as you can.
In the opening moments of the passenger fightback, the terrorists lose altitude and veer away from their target of Washington, D.C.
And then they ran up the length of a 757 with all their improvised weapons, and you could hear them coming. And we could hear it in the recording. It became louder and louder, people yelling, and I'm thinking maybe they should have just done it quietly.
There was smashing and just sounded like things were being banged around and commotion.
And then we all heard Tom's voice. All of us just jolted. He was trying to get home to us. You could hear him yelling, "In the cockpit, the cockpit."
They were chanting. Tom Burnett started at, "In the cockpit," and they were going, "In the cockpit, in the cockpit." They rattled the heck out of those guys in the front. They were terrified.
If you can, report what he's doing, sir.
It looks like he's rocking his wings, according to my observer.
Roger.
Keeps rocking back and forth.
By shaking the aircraft back and forth, left to right, the hijackers tried to dislodge the passengers.
You could hear the passengers and crew members outside of the cockpit door.
Really loud, and the guys yelling together and encouraging one another.
You could also hear the hijackers inside the cockpit.
They said, "Is that it? Should we put her in the ground now?" I said, "No, wait." And then you could hear the noise blasting them. "Get him!"
And then Tom said, "I'm injured." It was in a way that you had the sense that he was saying, "Don't wait for me, keep going."
You could hear they were working together, and Dina said it was Tom that said, "If we don't get in there, we'll die."
American Airlines emergency line, please state your emergency.
The cockpit's not answering. Somebody's stabbed in business class. And I think there's mates that we can't breathe. I don't know. I think we're getting hijacked.
Somebody hit the World Trade Center or the...
It's a Trade Center.
The World Trade Center.
Center.
There's a fire on the upper floors.
This just in, you were looking at obviously a very disturbing live shot there. That is the World Trade Center, and we have unconfirmed reports this morning
that a plane has crashed into the World Trade Center. We don't know anything more than that. We don't know if it was a commercial aircraft. We have no idea how many were on board or what the extent of the injuries are right now.
Jules, this is Ryan. Listen, on an airplane that's been hijacked, and things will go well. It's not looking good. I just want you to know I absolutely love you. I want you to do good. So have a good time. And I just totally love you, and I'll see you later. Bye, babe. Bye-bye.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
That looks like a second plane.
Oh, there's another one. Another plane just hit. Right. Oh my God. Another plane has just hit. It hit another building. Flew right into the middle of it.
Oh my goodness, there's another one.
It seems to be on purpose.
Oh my goodness, now it's obvious, I think.
I leaned over and whispered into his right ear. A second plane hit the second tower. America is under attack.
Today we've had a national tragedy. 2 airplanes have crashed into the World Trade Center in an apparent terrorist attack on our country.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. We're looking at a live picture from Washington, and there is smoke pouring out of the Pentagon. It would appear that there has been another major explosion, this one in the nation's capital. There is smoke in the air over the Pentagon.
This is as close as we can get to the base of the World Trade Center. You can see the firemen assembled here, the police officers, FBI agents, and you can see the 2 towers. A huge explosion now, raining debris on all of us. We better get out of the way!
We're getting reports that a part of the tower, the second tower, the one a bit further to the south of us, has collapsed. We are checking on that.
United 93, that traffic for you is 1 o'clock, 12 miles eastbound 370.
Negative contact, we're looking, United 93.
When I took the call over, there was a soft-spoken, calm gentleman. I asked him his name. He told me Todd Beamer. He said, "Lisa, would you recite the Lord's Prayer with me?" He said, "Okay, let's roll."
We've got a report from a guy at 24 of a cloud of black smoke off his lap.
Wheeling Pit 97.
But we don't have confirmation.
United Airlines flight number 93 left Newark at 8:01 this morning en route to San Francisco. It went down in Shanksville, Pennsylvania.
The North Tower is waiting. Oh my God, there it goes!
I hope I live. I hope I live. It's coming down on me.
And there's, you can see, perhaps the second tower, the front tower, the top portion of which is collapsing. Good Lord.
Both trade towers, where thousands of people work, on this day, Tuesday, have now been attacked and destroyed. There is simply no way to accurately describe the emotion this evokes.
I want you all to know that America today is on bended knee in prayer for the people whose lives were lost here, for the workers who work here, for the families who mourn. This nation stands with the good people of New York City and New Jersey and Connecticut as we mourn the loss of thousands of our citizens. I can hear you. I can hear you. The rest of the world hears you. And the people who knock these buildings down will hear all of us
soon. September 11 will go down in our history as a day to remember. None of us will ever forget the pictures of our courageous firefighters and police, many of whom have lost friends and colleagues, or the hundreds of people attending or standing patiently in line to donate blood. A tragedy like this could have torn our country apart, but instead, it has united us. This event can give a message of hope. Hope for the present and hope for the future. The cross tells us that God understands our sin and our suffering. And from the cross, God declares, I love you. The story does not end with the cross. For Easter points us beyond the tragedy of the cross to the empty tomb. It tells us that there is hope for eternal life. For Christ has conquered evil and death and hell. My prayer today is that we will feel the loving arms of God wrapped around us, and will know in our hearts that he will never forsake us as we trust in him. And this is going to be a day that we will remember as a day of victory. May God bless you all.
Just before 10 a.m., a call comes through from the vice president.
I could hear a noise on the phone. I looked around, and I could see that the desk in front of me was shaking. I didn't know what that was. People going under the desk. I heard the chief of the department yell, "The tower has come down. The tower has come down." Looked like nuclear cloud, this like gray smoke coming toward the building. Things flying through the street, things hitting the side of the building. And then all of a sudden it became dark outside. It went totally dark outside.
Division 6 acting, K, urgent. Division 6 acting, go. All right, you're responding down to the World Trade Center. You're maintaining radio communication and advise Manhattan Dispatch what exactly is going on, K. We are unable to make any kind of communication.
It collapsed. The top floors collapsed down. I saw it blow and then ran like hell. Thank God. I'm 69, but I can still run. There's got to be firemen trapped back there, though.
When the chief said the tower came down, I didn't think he meant the entire Twin Towers. There are big radio towers on the top. And I thought those towers had come down and hit our building.
The 10-second collapse instantly kills hundreds of civilians and emergency personnel.
This loud thunder, we looked up and the top of half of the building was actually coming down like dominoes, and it just fell over to the left. And everybody started running. It was a nightmare. It was a nightmare.
September 11th, 2001. A day of grief. A day of courage. This is how that day unfolded.
My daughter called me. She said, a plane just flew into the World Trade Center. I said, nah, you gotta be kidding. It's gotta be a Piper Cub or some clown was flying down the river.
At 8:46 a.m., American Airlines Flight 11 from Boston, with 92 aboard, traveling at a speed of 470 miles per hour, strikes the North Tower of the World Trade Center complex. Within minutes, officials coordinate the citywide emergency response. Their base of operations is a state-of-the-art command center located on the 23rd floor of 7 World Trade Center. With one tower in flames, the tragedy is only beginning. It is 9:03 when United Airlines Flight 175, with 65 aboard, traveling at the speed of 590 miles per hour, smashes into the South Tower of the World Trade Center. This aircraft strikes the corner of the South Tower. It rips a diagonally shaped gash from the 84th to the 78th floors. The South Tower lasts only 56 minutes before it succumbs at 9:59 a.m. The dust cloud billows outward for blocks. Victims stagger away. At 10:28, the television mast atop the North Tower spears straight down.
Once the collapse started, there really wasn't any way to stop it. It was just going to go all the way down once it got started.
Chaos in New York City. Power is down in Lower Manhattan. Phone lines jammed with more than 230 million calls. Hundreds of firefighters trapped in the towers. Hundreds more race to the scene. Falling debris from the collapse of the North and South Towers ignites fires in the neighboring buildings of the World Trade Center. World Trade 4, 5, and 6 are ablaze. World Trade 7, the building housing the city's command center, burns unchecked for 7 hours. At 5:20, it collapses.
The city's emergency nerve center is destroyed.
Somewhere in that time, and it's very hard to keep track of time during this, they had been ordered to evacuate number 7 by the Port Authority. To this day, we don't know who gave that order, but whoever it was saved a lot of people's lives.
With New York a war zone, some residents walk across the Brooklyn Bridge to get out of the city. Others seek escape in vessels piloted by the Army Corps of Engineers. At 7:45 p.m., the New York Police Department says 78 officers are missing and estimates that 200 firefighters are dead. At 10:56 p.m., police officials say they believe there are victims alive in the rubble of the World Trade Center.
Working with urban search and rescue teams, there was a lot of areas to be searched underneath the debris field. There were voids that had to be searched for possible live people.
September 11th, 2001, the longest and most tragic day in New York's history, is drawing to a close.
American Airlines emergency line, please state your emergency.
The cockpit's not answering. Somebody's stabbed in business class. And I think there's mates that we can't breathe. I don't know. I think we're getting hijacked.
Somebody hit the World Trade Center or the...
It's a Trade Center.
The World Trade Center.
Center.
There's a fire on the upper floors.
This just in, you are looking at obviously a very disturbing live shot there. That is the World Trade Center, and we have unconfirmed reports this morning
that a plane has crashed into the World Trade Center. We don't know anything more than that. We don't know if it was a commercial aircraft. We have no idea how many were on board or what the extent of the injuries are right now.
Jules, this is Ryan. Listen, on an airplane that's been hijacked, and things don't go well. It's not looking good. I just want you to know I absolutely love you. I want you to do good. Go have a good time. And I just totally love you, and I'll see you later. Bye, babe. Bye-bye.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
That looks like a second plane.
Oh, there's another one. Another plane just hit. Right. Oh my God. Another plane has just hit. It hit another building. Flew right into the middle of it.
Oh my goodness, there's another one.
It seems to be on purpose.
Oh my goodness, now it's obvious, I think.
I leaned over and whispered into his right ear. A second plane hit the second tower. America is under attack.
Today we've had a national tragedy. 2 airplanes have crashed into the World Trade Center in an apparent terrorist attack on our country.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. We're looking at a live picture from Washington, and there is smoke pouring out of the Pentagon. It would appear that there has been another major explosion, this one in the nation's capital. There is smoke in the air over the Pentagon.
This is as close as we can get to the base of the World Trade Center. You can see the firemen assembled here, the police officers, FBI agents, and you can see the 2 towers. A huge explosion now raining debris on all of us. We better get out of the way!
We're getting reports that a part of the tower, the second tower, the one a bit further to the south of us, has collapsed. We are checking on that.
United 93, that traffic for you is 1 o'clock, 12 miles eastbound 370.
Negative contact, we're looking United 93.
When I took the call over, there was a soft-spoken, calm gentleman. I asked him his name. He told me Todd Beamer. He said, "Lisa, would you recite the Lord's Prayer with me?" He said, "Okay, let's roll."
We've got a report from a guy at 24 of a cloud of black smoke off his lap.
Wheeling to 97.
But we don't have confirmation.
United Airlines flight number 93 left Newark at 8:01 this morning en route to San Francisco. It went down in Shanksville, Pennsylvania.
The North Tower. The North Tower is leaning. Oh my God, there it goes!
I hope I live. I hope I live. It's coming down on me.
And there's, you can see, perhaps the second tower, the front tower, the top portion of which is collapsing. Good Lord.
Both trade towers, where thousands of people work, on this day, Tuesday, have now been attacked and destroyed. There is simply no way to accurately describe the emotion this evokes.
I want you all to know that America today is on bended knee in prayer for the people whose lives were lost here, for the workers who work here, for the families who mourn. This nation stands with the good people of New York City and New Jersey and Connecticut as we mourn the loss of thousands of our citizens. I can hear you. I can hear you. The rest of the world hears you. And the people who knock these buildings down will hear all of us soon.
September 11 will go down in our history as a day to remember. None of us will ever forget the pictures of our courageous firefighters and police, many of whom have lost friends and colleagues, or the hundreds of people attending or standing patiently in line to donate blood. A tragedy like this could have torn our country apart, but instead, it has united us. This event can give a message of hope. Hope for the present and hope for the future. The cross tells us that God understands our sin and our suffering. And from the cross, God declares, I love you. The story does not end with the cross. For Easter points us beyond the tragedy of the cross to the empty tomb. It tells us that there is hope for eternal life. For Christ has conquered evil and death and hell. My prayer today is that we will feel the loving arms of God wrapped around us, and will know in our hearts that he will never forsake us as we trust in him. And this is going to be a day that we will remember as a day of victory. May God bless you all.
We were there on the day that will live in infamy. Inside Edition's Matt Mahar was one of the first reporters on the scene.
Okay, a big explosion has just occurred. Everyone is running from the entire financial district now. The smoke is filling the entire area. Let's go. Come on, go, Brad, go. Stop shooting, Brad, go.
Cameraman Brad Waite captured moments never to be forgotten.
Mayor, any idea how this happened?
Not right now, not right now.
Correspondent April Woodard was already there when she encountered Mayor Rudy Giuliani, who was getting his first look at the disaster.
As you can see, there's debris all over. It looks like it's snowing out here in downtown Manhattan.
Cameraman Steve Shapiro found himself in the midst of the chaos as day turned to night. Shapiro recorded scenes of utter devastation. It was almost apocalyptic.
Everybody go down.
sub-basement.
He followed these desperate people as they sought safety in a bomb shelter.
Come on, let's get in here.
A filmmaker who was shooting plumes of smoke was pulled into a juice bar just as daylight turned to dark.
My God! You're right. Oh my God, you saved my life.
Others hid in a deli. Unforgettable moments from one of America's most tragic days.
"33 minutes after the second strike on the World Trade Center, Flight 77 is circling just west of Washington, D.C. It's spotted by a National Guard pilot who's flying a mission over the city.
Gopher 06, traffic is 11 o'clock and 5 miles northbound, fast-moving, type and altitude unknown.
Looks like a 757, sir.
757, can you estimate his altitude?
Looks like he's at low altitude right now, sir.
Not 2 minutes after I speculated that the plane was more likely to hit the Pentagon, suddenly we could hear the sound of an airliner. We could hear jet engines at full throttle. I remember looking away from the TV at this point because it's no longer something that's happening in New York.
That traffic for Gopher 06 is still in a descent now, and looks like he's rolled out.
I was on the phone trying to explain to my ex-wife and her students what a coordinated attack was. I told them not to jump to conclusions.
The sound was growing louder and louder and louder.
The chief of staff said, "All right, Keiko, what do you have?"
You wonder if these were the last moments of your life.
And as I began to talk, there was the loudest sound.
And just as I finished that sentence,
boom.
Jim Miklaszewski has some new information at the Pentagon. I hope you'll stand by and continue to talk with us. Mick?
Katie, I don't want to alarm anybody right now, but apparently it felt just a few moments ago like there was an explosion of some kind here at the Pentagon.
The Boeing 757 crashed into the west wall of the Pentagon's E-ring at 530 miles per hour.
The front of the aircraft punched a hole through the limestone. It just began rolling through the outer E-ring of the building where some Army accounting offices were, then into the D-ring where the Navy Command Center was, then continued into the C-ring where some of the Defense Intelligence Agency comptroller offices were.
Have heavy smoke showing from the structure.
The plane hit a little more than 100 yards away from where we were standing. You're alive. That's the first thought that goes through your head. I'm alive.
I was thrown to the other side of the room. I want to say I was knocked out for a while, a minute or two, because I didn't know where I was.
And you could hear the noise of the impact resonating down the corridors, and it was extremely loud.
You could see fire come from the E-ring, and all of a sudden it just got so dark. The electricity, the power, everything went out, and all of a sudden the room filled up with smoke.
The plane is carrying more than 7,000 gallons of jet fuel when it strikes, igniting a fire that will burn at a searing 1,740 degrees. On the second floor, directly above the point of impact, Marilyn Wills is trapped in its path.
I know there is a door in that conference room to the right-hand side that would lead out onto the E-ring. So I grabbed that door and immediately pulled my hand back, said, "Oh my God, that is hot." I couldn't open it. I do remember crawling across the table. It was all about getting out of this building.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. We're looking at a live picture from Washington, and there is smoke pouring out of the Pentagon. It would appear that there has been another major explosion, this one in the nation's capital. You are looking at a scene of apparent blast aftermath. There is smoke in the air over the Pentagon. We don't know whether this is the result of a bomb or whether it is yet another aircraft that has targeted a symbol of the United States power, but there is smoke pouring out of the Pentagon. This is coming at 9:43 Eastern Time. The president right now is on his way back from Florida. He had gone there for an educational event. In a brief remarks, he said this was an apparent terrorist attack on our country. We do have a couple of reports, one from AP, one from Reuters, reporting that an American Airlines plane was hijacked, that a United Airlines plane was hijacked, supposedly one of those two planes hijacked out of Boston. At this point, the Pentagon, the White House, the Capitol, and the Treasury have been evacuated in Washington. In New York, all airports, tunnels, and bridges have been closed, and in Chicago, the Sears Tower has been evacuated. We understand now there has been a secondary explosion on Tower 2. With that, we will leave you and turn it over to Dan Rather.
This is CBS News continuing live coverage of the apparent terrorist attacks today here in New York City and in Washington, D.C. It's important to say these things at the very beginning. There is much that is not known about what is happening. The second thing is that the word from almost everybody who's trying to deal with the situation, the word of the day is steady. Steady. Yes, there have been some terrible things happening, but until and unless we know the facts, it's very difficult to draw many conclusions. But there'll be rumors all day, and we're going to try to separate the rumors from the facts. CBS News veteran correspondent Harold Dow is on the telephone now from a section of the city where these twin towers are in flames and smoke. Harold, if you hear us, come in.
I arrived on the scene about an hour and a half ago, and believe it or not, there was another major explosion. The building itself, literally the top of it, came down, sending smoke and debris everywhere. I had to do all I could to run to get away from all the debris. Me and a number of other people here are trapped in the subway here in a shoe store, actually trying to get away from most of the debris. It's just an incredible sight. They had a lot of emergency workers around the building, and of course everybody's hoping that these people were able to get out of there without being injured. But it is a surreal and devastating scene over here, something like I've never seen before.
Harold, exactly where are you in filing this report?
Dan, I'm at a subway station. I just ran down the stairs. I didn't even look at it. It's right around the corner from the World Trade Center, and I'm kind of waiting for that smoke and debris to blow away to go back upstairs. But it's just an unbelievable situation here.
Well, Harold, if I may, take a deep breath, take a series of deep breaths, and then let me ask you, have you seen any indication that would tend to confirm these reports, which have been growing in intensity, that a section of the World Trade Center has collapsed onto the street below? Do you see any confirmation of that in any direction?
That is true, Dan. That's what we were all running from. We heard the building coming down, and that's what we were running from. Literally, people ran out of their shoes trying to get out of the way of this thing.
At the point that the second tower was hit, I don't think any of us had any idea of the breadth or magnitude of what could possibly happen. So when the Pentagon was hit, that kind of expanded our understanding of just how vast the potential was for this to affect everyone in America.
The fact that our Pentagon, our defense headquarters, could be hit by a commercial airliner and do that kind of damage was kind of mind-blowing, because the correlation was quite clear. If the Pentagon wasn't safe, nowhere is safe.
It was important to go downstairs and get outside, which I did, and as we came around the corner, we could see the fire and the smoke. There were pieces of the aircraft spread across the grassy area outside the building.
I reached out to Secretary Rumsfeld from Air Force One, and I was not able to get him, and it turns out one reason why is that he was becoming a first responder at the Pentagon. He was helping rescue people.
That was when it first really hit me, as I saw the billowing cauldron of black smoke coming out of the western wall of the Pentagon. That's when it became very, very real for me.
Before 9/11, I had never flown over the Pentagon. It just wasn't part of the appropriate air traffic control routing. Once the Pentagon got hit, and we weren't there, we were all very frustrated and angry that we weren't there to protect and defend.
It psychologically, I think, took a toll on the American psyche and made us really recognize that how vulnerable the White House is sitting there in its lawn with its little fence around it, and how the Capitol was just a target in waiting.
It was a rude awakening, not that terrorism existed, we knew that, but that it could be brought right home, right here in the United States. And it, I think, energized the country to recognize that the task before us was to not win a war, not win a battle, and not think that we can accomplish our goals only with bullets, but to recognize that it's an ideological struggle, as communism was, and that we need to be patient and persistent and tolerant.
I got a call from my daughter who was working on Bloomberg News, and she said, "Dad, have you heard?" And I didn't know what she was talking about, and she said, "Turn on the TV, a plane has hit one of the Twin Towers."